Testing, testing, 1, 2.
48 regular would be, yeah.
Okay.
You might have to get a couple of, I don't know what size. Maybe
for mayor and council for March 18th is called to order. Ms. Rainey, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and City Manager, Mr. Clark. This is the roll call for March the 18th, 2024 work session meeting. Mayor Butler,
Present.
Councilmember James,
Present.
Councilmember Anton,
Present.
Councilmember Gutierrez, Councilmember Akins Wells,
Here.
Councilmember Mears.
Here.
Mayor Butler, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you so much. The adoption of tonight's agenda. Is there a motion on such matters?
So moved.
That was Councilwoman James. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Councilman Antoine. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. New business, council discussion and approval on the renewal of professional probation services contract. Background and history. Professional Probation Services, Inc., or PPSI, is a private organization contracted with the City of Forest Park to provide probation services for defendants placed on probation by the Chief Judge of Forest Park Municipal Court. PPSI has been servicing the City of Forest Park for 24 years. The present contract expires on March 31st, 2024, and is seeking renewal for the next 5 years. Good
Good
evening.
afternoon, Mayor, Madam Mayor, City Council members,
Good evening.
City Attorney. I don't know what is that, City Attorney, or City Manager, City Clerk. I don't see the chief, so deputy and directors and deputy directors, residents, and guests. Good afternoon. Professional Probation Services, also known as PPS, is a private organization that is contracted with the City of Forest Park for 20 years that provided probation services. I personally worked with this company for almost 10 years. When someone hears about probation, the first thing that comes to mind is fines and fees. However, that is not the case. Probation supervision serves as an alternative to incarceration. Probation reduces reoffending and promotes rehabilitation. If a defendant is charged with driving under the influence and are unsuccessful in completing their sentencing terms, probation will place this individual back before the judge so the judge could speak with this individual to see that additional treatment is needed or this person has other serious underlying issues. As stated earlier, PPS is contracted with the city for 24 years. That tells you something is working right. Their contract expires the end of this month, and they are seeking to renew their contract for an additional 5 years. Ms. Sony Brown, the Vice President for Compliance and Training, is with us tonight. So I'm going to give her the opportunity to just give us a few more insight and to answer any questions that you may have. Ms. Sony Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'd like to thank the City of Forest Park for allowing us to be the probation provider for the past 24 years. Excuse me, sinuses are real. Pollen. Excuse me, we currently supervise more than 60,000 offenders across numerous states. We focus on the ethical and appropriate enforcement of the conditions of probation as ordered by the courts that we serve. We work to ensure public safety compliance with state regulatory requirements while improving the lives of those under our probation supervision. We have answered the call to the 21st century through the expansion and development of our computer-based supervision program. We call that Tracker 2.0. It does provide offenders an opportunity to report online. They have 24-hour access to the payment portal. They can also email or text message the probation officer that's sent real time to the email system and also uploaded into the notes. We are able to standardize documents across all of the courts that we serve. We are also able to take information to import to our courts, no matter which platform they work. For example, Ms. Dorothy uses Courtware. We currently, our local staff has 458 probationers under their supervision here at the City of Forest Park with no cost to the city. Since January 1st of 2019, PPS has collected and submitted nearly 1.3 million in fines to the city of Forest Park. We've collected 84,000 for the Georgia Crime Victims Fund. That's that $9 fee that's charged to every probationer under supervision. And we have supervised nearly 5,000 hours of community service for those that are sentenced by the city of Forest Park Municipal Court. And we've closed nearly 1,000 cases successfully. We've closed 117 over the past 5 years unsuccessfully. Keep in mind that does include those that are revoked by the court for violation of probation. As the city works to expand and enhance their municipal court, Ms. Dorothy, we look forward to working and being an integral part of that development and success, and we appreciate the opportunity to serve the city. Thank you.
Any questions?
Any
Thank you
questions?
very much. Councilwoman James?
Yes, I have some questions.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. So my first question is related to conversations that we've had in the past, Mr. Clark, if you may not be aware of bringing in the probation services in-house. But as it relates to the contract that we have here, it says deficiencies. If we find any deficiencies, then we can terminate. I would like to know what kind of deficiencies would we have. I don't know if Attorney McCarty could answer that, but what are some typical deficiencies that we may have in probation services? And before you answer that, the other question that I would have is, it says we have access to the books and the records, and I appreciate you sharing the information that you shared tonight. First time us really hearing anything and knowing anything. So I would like to even look a little deeper at, what are some of what the books look like. Has anyone looked at the books on our side?
Yes, ma'am. So I'll take it and then I'll pass it over to legal counsel. We are aware of those conversations relative to bringing this service in-house. We've had those conversations with our municipal court system staff as well as the judge. At this time, this contract, even though it stated a 5-year renewal, it still renews every year. And Attorney Manchacardi can go into some of that. And that's without the out clauses that you just mentioned. We do have reports monthly from our probation department, or probation service rather, as well as we do track the numbers that we're bringing in monthly, and those are reported externally, even in the city manager's report, I believe, that we'll present tonight. But we do have those numbers and an annual report from PPI that we can distribute if you don't already have it. And Attorney McCarty, I'll let you take up the rear.
Right, so it in total would be 5 years, but it's 5 one-year terms. And it renews every year on April 1st. So this initial term would be till March 31st. As it comes to termination, it would be any service that they're required to perform that they're not doing under the agreement. So whether or not that has to do with failure to provide reports, and they have 10 days from notice of any deficiency to cure it. And if that deficiency is not cured, then you can move to terminate the agreement.
Let me ask you this, just to make certain that I'm clear. If the city, let's just say, and this is just let's just say the city decided on next year, prior to that renewal period, that we in fact wanted to submit the 30-day notice to terminate the contract and bring our probation in-house without a reason, this contract allows for such.
Correct. You just have to provide notice of non-renewal by March 1st, 2025.
Okay, so another additional question I would have is related to the people that you serve. As far as I know there's no cost to the city, but the cost to the offenders. A lot of our residents are low income, and they may fall up under probation because they just can't pay whatever the fine is for whatever fee it is. Do you all have a very competitive fee process, something where you can work with the residents? How do you all deal with those people that just can't afford the fine?
Well, initially at sentencing, the judge always has the option to waive the community service in lieu of the fine. He does do that I say often, he does do that upon consideration. A lot of times he depends on probation to process those applications. They'll submit a financial affidavit, the documents that support that. If we can approve it based on the city's guidelines that we've gotten from the judge, he's given us guidance. If we can do that without further judicial review, we go ahead, do the paperwork for the court, have the defendant sign it, we convert it to community service. As far as fees go, not all cases that are converted to community service are automatically required to pay probation fees. Again, that's at the judge's discretion. If it is a pay-only probation case, PPS several years ago, we weren't required by the state. It was something we did to be competitive, to be caring to our defendants. If it is a pay-only case, when the law changed to pay-only probation, probation only gets paid for 3 probation fees, 3 months, no matter how long the sentence. If it is a pay-only case, no conditions, we get 3 fees, period. If they're on probation 4 months or 12 months, they pay for 3 fees and that's it. Now, we also waive the first 30 days. So if somebody's placed on probation because they get their check on the 1st and their fine is $180. If they're placed on probation on April 15th, they'll have till the 31st day to avoid any probation fee at all. We still process that case. We're still in court to do intake. We enter the case into our system. They have the ability to go online and pay 24/7 using our system. We still import that to the court. We still report it to probation, to MPOU. All of our requirements, we still meet those regulatory requirements. But it is done if it is a pay-only case, we waive the first 30 days.
Mayor Butler, in full transparency, I'm not sure if Director Roper Jackson mentioned this. There is an increase in that assessment from, what is it, $40 monthly to $45, which is the trend that we've seen. And this was proposed by the company, but again, I wasn't aware that they had a 30-day grace period in order to pay, and then they only pay for 3 months. Aside from that, Ms. James, I would be curious if they could provide data that is indicative of how many of their actual probationers that are on active, I forget the terminology, but they're actually paying, are actual residents of the city of Forest Park.
Yeah, we can do that. Our tracker system, when we enter the address, that's something that I can run a query for. It's not a regular report that I have. That's an IT request that could be turned around in just a couple of hours. Those are things that I can do, yes.
I just want to piggyback a little bit on on Councilwoman James' question about the fines. Most times, like when the defendant appear in court, if they actually tell the judge, I cannot pay that fee, he usually just put them on probation and suspend the fine totally. So they do not have to pay the fine, but they could just go on the probation to, especially if it's a mandatory probation, then they will go and just do what they need to do on probation. But a lot of time, even without probation, if they tell the judge they are, cannot pay the fee, most time he will go and rule on the case and suspend the fines.
Thank you.
Councilman Antoine? Councilman Gutierrez?
No, just thank you so much for all of the questions, answers. Great job, Kimberly. You asked all the questions that I wanted to know. And I just want to say that that's just very competitive. I know probation's in other places where, municipalities are not as lenient as we are for our people, but I look forward to reading those reports.
Councilwoman Wells?
Thank you.
Councilman Mears?
Yes, as city manager, is there a way that we can cross-wire each other when we need community service through the probationary period? Can we use them for park cleanups or stuff like that?
I'm glad you asked, Councilman Mears. I know that I've seen community service workers a lot here recently with Public Works. And so I'm assuming that the community service workers that I see around the city are through our probation services.
Mayor,
Good
city
evening, sir.
manager. They come from all over the city. Most time it's wherever they live. The judge will let them come to wherever is closest to their home. So it depends.
How many are we running right now? At a 4 or 5?
At the most,
But we can speak with the judge, Councilman Mears, to your point, to see if we can get additional assistance with some of the community service workers. And just so that everybody is aware, the probation component and the amount of probationers that they're seeing is just starting to pick up because if you'll recall, there was a backlog based upon COVID. And so court is really just getting back into session within the last year. And so those defendants are the ones, if they can't pay at that time, that are going on probation. But Ms. Roper Jackson, if you can have a conversation with the judge, and we can see if we can get more. Are there specific needs, Mr. Mears?
Well, I just thought, when it comes to grass cutting time and different things, we have to sub out a lot of the work to companies and pay. And if we could use in-house labor and save that much money for a rainy day, I mean, people may not have the money to pay the fine, but they can work. You know what I'm saying? Do some kind of manual labor.
Yes, sir. Point well taken. The individuals that I've seen them with Public Works, with the grass cutting crews, assisting them with cutting the grass. But it's definitely something I'll have Ms. Roper Jackson speak to the judge, and we can just make more of a concerted effort to ensure that when we can get the assistance, we have it. But also the service contracts that Public Works, just in full transparency, the service contracts that Public Works had, I believe it was last year, those contracts expired for grass cutting services. So if that's something that the governing body is looking to consider, that would have to be a conversation, because we do not currently have the separate providers on contract to cut grass within our residential neighborhoods.
That's correct. In pre-COVID, we was averaging 6 to 8 a day. And then just recently, we started getting 3 to 4. And most time it's just 1 or 2 a day.
All right, thank you.
Just to add, we would be glad to coordinate with Public Works as far as sending probation people there for their community service hours. Some courts require that all community service be done with their court. Some, they don't want to deal with it at all. They want it to go out to a nonprofit. So we'll just follow the judges and the, court's guidance on that. And we'll get with Public Works if we need to
Thank you.
keep up with those. Mhm.
All right, thank you very much. Item 2, council discussion and approval to condemn real property located at 765 Forest Parkway. Background and history. As a part of the City of Forest Park's City Center initiative, staff have been working on finalizing the preliminary plans for the city center to house the city hall, municipal court, police headquarters, recreation facility, and the senior center. The current plans incorporate the adjacent undeveloped lot physically situated between City Hall and the annex building 765 and 785 Forest Parkway. City staff deems it in the city's best interest to adopt the attached resolution number 24-15, which would authorize the acquisition of 765 Forest Parkway by way of negotiated purchase or by eminent domain if necessary. Georgia law allows property to be condemned for a public purpose. The expansion of City Hall will further this purpose. Record property owners have been notified. Georgia law requires the city to enter into good faith negotiations with the owners prior to filing formal condemnation. The purchase price will be based on the property's fair market value as determined by an appraisal. No appraisal has been obtained at this time. So who is this? Is you? All right, you have the floor.
Either I'll take it or legal. Again, council, this is the property to the east of the city hall, and I think this has been a conversation that has been ongoing for a number of years. Our legal team has just brought forward the documents to effectuate this condemnation.
Correct. So if the resolution is adopted, it will give the city the authority to directly negotiate with the owners. And if negotiations fail, that's when we would initiate the condemnation proceedings.
All right, Councilwoman James,
No questions.
Councilman Antoine,
Thank you.
Councilman Gutierrez, Councilwoman Wells,
No.
and Councilman Mears.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Item 3, council discussion and approval on the city's investment management policy. Background and history. The investment policy guides inform decision-making and serves as a roadmap to successfully investing the city's funds. The city shall invest public funds in such a manner as to comply with federal and state laws and within the authority granted by the mayor and council, ensure prudent money management, provide for daily cash flow requirements, and meet the objectives of this policy in the priority order of safety, liquidity, and return on investment. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This investment management policy, the purpose of this policy is the city is to, to invest the public funds for the city in such a manner to comply with federal and state laws and within the authority granted by mayor and council. Ensure prudent money management, provide the daily cash flow requirements, and meet the objectives of this policy in the priority order of safety, liquidity, and return on investment. The objective of this policy, the city's investment philosophy sets the tone for the policy practice, procedures, and objective that control the investment function. The investment of the funds will be guided by the primary objectives of safety, liquidity, and a reasonable market rate of return. With all that being said, this is basically just a simple investment policy for us to have some type of order of moving forward on when we invest funds for the city. And this is just to ensure that we comply with the laws of Georgia and stay within the city philosophy of investing. With that, we ask that you approve this policy so we can move forward on going out and making sure we invest correctly.
Thank you.
Question?
Councilwoman James.
Yes, so I struggle with this a little bit because in the delegation of authority, it says the investment program. I apologize. I thought I turned that off. Apologize. It says, hold on, let me turn this off. I'm sorry, you guys. I want to make sure it doesn't ring again. It says that the overall management, calling somebody. It says the overall management investment is a responsibility of the city manager, and then the responsibility of daily investment activities is assigned to the financial director. So my question is, and my struggle is, are we seeking a investment firm to look at this? Or, I mean, is this not something that we're like putting on you all to do as it relates to the funds of the city?
So great question, Councilwoman James. Just for a little clarity, the investment that the Urban Redevelopment Agency made into Georgia Fund 1, this simply allows us to do the same for the general fund. However, it sets the cap at 25% of what is within that bank threshold for staff to manage. So similar to what we did with your boards with approvals, this is just a more formalized investment management policy that focuses on not only us not going over that 25% threshold, but also the diversification of what that investment portfolio looks like. So prime example, Georgia Fund 1, if we're seeing that their yield and their interest levels are at 5.3, I think it was, and a Truist is at a 3.7, we wouldn't make a decision to put all of our money in Truist. We would go with the higher yield so that we're getting the biggest bang for our buck. I think you were pivotal in insisting, sounds like a harsh word, but insisting that we reinvest north of $4 million, and we've seen what that return was. And it made us also look at all of our funds that we just have sitting in the bank account, because the money could essentially be making money for us and just sitting there. I think that investment was $27,000 in 3 months, and we have a myriad of different accounts that the money is just sitting in our banking account, not earning that level of interest.
And that's correct.
Okay, so I think that was my confusion. Thank you. You clarified that, because I am familiar with what you all told me about Georgia Fund 1, but yes, so if you're looking for other.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Antoine.
Thank you.
Councilman Gutierrez.
So this is to start the process of finding other place, or us approving you to choose? I guess, are we gonna get an update on what we end up doing with this?
More than likely, as a present day, the highest account is going to be Georgia Fund 1.
That's correct.
And the finance team would have to do a whole lot of swaying for me to accept investing our money into an account with a lower interest rate. And the purpose of this policy is they have to report back monthly as to what that is. And if we see by researching the market that Truist has now had a higher interest rate than Georgia Fund One, then we need to be proactive and move that money from one account to the next one because we're not paying an investment banker to help us with this. It's going to be solely on them to ensure that we're getting the highest yield. But I think just based upon historical data, it's going to be hard to match what the Georgia Fund One account is currently yielding, and it's 5.3%.
That's correct.
Councilwoman Wells?
No, thank you.
Councilman Mears? Okay, I just have a question. With the excess funds from the accounts, is there a restriction on how we can utilize those funds?
Yes, and, attorney?
No, I
Chief.
think that was directed to you, Mr.
Okay, I thought she was, I'm sorry. Now, there, on certain accounts, we have some restriction. Just like city manager said, if anything that we invest in any of the bank accounts we have, it's only gonna be like 25%. We're not gonna, be able to invest the whole amount. We need to, keep it, at the 25%, and that's basically just diversify a whole portfolio. And then that goes from, bank account to bank account.
Mayor Butler, to specifically answer your question, similar to the excess that we received from the URA, we would bring that back at a time appropriate to the governing body to make a firm decision about how we ensure that we're capitalizing and using those said funds. But for us, we wouldn't spend it. We would just keep it until such time the governing bodies of the respective authorities deem otherwise. I've seen communities do it very differently as it relates to those investments. I've known of some that will use their additional monies for capital infrastructure projects. I've known some that will use it for retirement. Of course, that is something that is coming up. So collectively, as a governing body, you get to decide what that use is.
And we get to decide that at any time. We don't have to do that in advance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes.
Madam Mayor?
Yes,
I have
ma'am.
one
Sure.
other question. So, the 25% total portfolio, is there a reason why, or is that something that is required by law? that
It's
we
not,
only
I'm, s-
Invest the 25%?
no, it's not required by law. It's just a standard around, municipalities, is to stay within that framework of 25% and not just move all your money, because if you do and something happen, it's all gone.
So wait, let me ask you this. With Georgia Fund One, as I understand it, the money is liquidable. I mean, it's not like it's not like a CD and you can't pull it out at a certain amount of time, right?
Councilwoman James, you are absolutely correct. After the initial depositing of the funds, I want to say the initial period, you have to wait 30 days before you can draw it down. And then after that initial withdrawal, you're able to get your money within 1 to 2 business days.
That's correct.
It's funny that you asked that question because I too asked Director Wiggins the same question. Why is it 25%? For the account balances that we have, this governing body could decide. I would caution us not to go any more than 50% because we still need operating capital and cash for those emergency projects and just day-to-day cash flow. But this governing body can decide to go up higher than 25%.
That's correct. It's not a restriction on the body. It's just this investment part is just a roadmap for staff to follow. And if you want to go higher than that, that's quite all right. But the standard is usually stay around 25%. That's just the basic, just
So,
keep it down.
so let me say why, Mr. Clark, and you know, why I just feel like if we have millions of dollars in the bank, then I feel like the millions of dollars in the bank at a 5.35% interest is more than a 0 point whatever. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And so I would think that if we can do like scale it in, like 30 days, this amount, 30 days, this amount, if we have to wait a 30-day period before we get the money in or whatever, I think that would be the best for our money because, you know, we could be earning income on the money that we have. And that's just my perspective on it.
Yes, ma'am. Point well taken. This governing body can make a decision as to what that threshold is, even if it's on a tiered structure. And we can look at this in the period of 90 days and see what the yield is. But it will also become a part of your monthly financial report.
I got a point of order.
Yes, sir.
I think it's,
Yes.
I think it's a good idea to diversify and not put all your money in one bundle in one place. I mean, you never know, volatile up and down and everything. It's good to keep a steady amount in there at all times, but you still need to have other sources coming in that can maybe offset a downfall on one or two accounts.
And your point well taken, Mr. Mears, and this policy contemplates what that diversification of the investments is. I want to say it's, Mr. Wiggins, you can speak more in detail about the diversification that this policy sets forth.
Yeah, diversification, it just basically, if we want to, if you have another, fund come up that's close to about maybe 4.9, you know, and it also gives you some other advantages, better than what you're just getting with Georgia Fund One, which is at the 5.38. You know, it just gives you opportunity to maybe invest some money over there too. You want to just kind of spread it out, but right now Georgia Fund One is the best for
I know
municipalities.
a lot of times on big lumps of money, different people they jockey for a position on getting our business, and sometimes it can fluctuate the rates to a little higher than what they normally would give.
Mr. Mears, you're absolutely correct. I'll read it for the record. To preserve liquidity and to lessen no more than the city shall not be overinvested in any one type of instrument or financial institution. No more than 25% of the total investment portfolio shall be placed with a single issuer. This limitation shall not apply to the local government investment pool or other direct obligations of the United States government. What we're talking about, this Georgia Fund One, that is considered a local government investment pool, but you're 100% correct.
Yes.
The importance of diversifying it. And what we're asking for is just guidance so that we then can turn to either our financial advisor or just working with the various markets to see what are those incentives that they're asking, that they are willing to provide for our investments.
And so if it is the desire of the council to increase that threshold now, or if we want to keep it at the 25%, and in 3 months, that'll put us at the new fiscal year, reevaluate to see where we are, then that we could do that as well.
So, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I would definitely want to increase, because right now we are we're not diversified. So we're sitting at a place where our money is not doing anything right now. And it's been there for years.
I'm all for
So
increasing it.
my
Recommendation?
yes, thank you. Couldn't think of the word. My recommendation would be, while we're looking for the diversity, our money is in the most place which will give us the most interest. If that makes sense.
For an amount not to exceed what percentage?
75%. I would even say 100%, but I would say 100%.
Ms. James, I would caution us, I think it's admirable for you to understand this investment on the back end, but we also have to ensure that we keep and maintain cash flow. And I'm a little timid to go that aggressive right now. I think starting off at 50%, Ms. James, if you will, it'll allow us an opportunity to properly vet the program, see the investment, see what the return is. But I have some reluctance to placing all of our money somewhere else.
It's already somewhere, right?
It is, and I also want to be candid. We are making interest off of the current accounts that we have. Mr. Wiggins, do you know what that interest rate is?
3.89 right now. That's what our regular bank accounts.
And that was increased from,
Yeah, it was 0. Yeah.
That was COVID numbers when they were not, this predates, Director Wiggins. This was back with, COVID where the bank was suspending the actual fees. Therefore, they suspended the interest rates, because they were not charging us fees on the amount of money and the volume of transactions. But now that the market has recovered, when I say market, the financial market and deposits, now we're able to we negotiated the interest rates, I want to say in October, when Director Wiggins came, from 0.02% to 3.89%. Now, to your point, Georgia Fund One is always gonna be higher than your banks, because the banks have to actually buy in to, those interest rates by securing funds with, i.e. Georgia Fund One and the federal government. But to city manager's point, for diversification, it was SoftBank, like in California, which was an investment firm that went belly up, where you had the feds had to step in, Chase Bank buying out accounts and things like that, where local municipalities put 100% of their money in, but then had to be rescued. So to Director Wiggins' point and the city manager, 25% here, 25% there, 25% here. But that those funds in Bank of America, Truist, East West allows us to negotiate lower interest rates on the credit cards that we have, the bonds that we need issued, and things like that. So you don't want to remove that relationship, because then it's a give and take with the bank.
That was a great
Thank you.
explanation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
One order.
Yes, sir.
Do we have somebody watching this, pot of money on a regular basis? Because there ought to be some way, somehow, being invested like that, that there's shock waves that come down and tell you where there's gonna be ups and downs. And would like to know what the advantages or disadvantages would be if we move it. Do we get fined for moving it? Do we do this? Do we do that? How does that work? Can we
Well-
move it? Just say our investors say, we got a shot going here and we fixing to have a drop. Is there a time limit on the length of time you have to have your money in there before you can move it? Or is there penalties on it? Or?
There are no penalties, and the initial draw has to stay there for a period of 30 days, I believe it was.
And that's correct. And, you know, before we may even make a move, anything like that, we will be in discussion with the city manager so we can bring it before you, before we start moving money like that.
I'm from spreading it out like that, but I
Mhm.
don't want to get us caught with our britches down and it come a major downfall and we're stuck over here with a empty pot.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And that's why that's why we want to try to keep the percentage down. And if we are gonna invest more than what we're investing, we spread it around, we diversify, and we're in constant communication with the banks.
Right.
So, and like with Georgia Fund One, we're watching that every month. There's actually a report that actually goes out to to one of the authorities on that particular fund. We are watching it. We also have, with the communication with some of the banks who are trying to get us to invest more, because they're willing to move the interest rate up, you know, by when I first got here, coming and renegotiating with the banks to increase. And like you said, you know, money been sitting for a while, just doing nothing. So now it's actually making a little, money from the interest that we're getting now. But we, you know, we also will solicit the help of our financial advisor if we need to branch out, because I know we have some things coming up that we're gonna need to probably look into, maybe with some bonds or being able to move our money around to take care of some of these projects.
Yes, sir. And again, just for Mayor Butler, I'm sorry, just for you to know, Mr. Mears, we've tried this with the URA funds, which are controlled by the city's finance team, and for a deposit of $4 million in 3 months, it resulted in $27,000. And that's good interest.
Well, I know, there's 7 people up here that wouldn't want to be hung with the, y'all let all the money getting on, you know? We need, without asking all the primary questions, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Mhm.
Item 4, council discussion and approval of a multi-factor authentication solution. Implementation, background and history. Multi-factor authentication is a security tool that, in addition to a username and password, requires an MFA, multi-factor authentication token to log in or access city IT resources. While we currently have a multi-factor authentication in place for certain systems and users, we are looking to implement a complete system-wide solution that covers all applications and all users in one easy-to-manage tool. While the IT department has this solution as part of the budget request for the upcoming fiscal year, due to the incredible layer of security this solution would add, the IT department is requesting it be approved in the current fiscal year so we can get started with implementation immediately.
Good evening. Yes, so just a couple of things I do want to add on to this. As I stated in the background and history, we are using MFA today for some of our systems, but I would like to move to a one solution that has all of our applications included for email, VPN, server logins, domain logins, computer logins, everything in one solution. So the way this would work is all employees that have a city issued cell phone would just have an app on their phone. When they enter their username and password, there will be an additional authentication prompt to say, hey, is this you logging in? You click yes, and it signs you in securely to verify that this is you. So if your password is compromised, it blocks those logins for those password compromised accounts. In addition to that, this is a little more than just MFA. This also includes the configuration of single sign-on. So right now we have multiple user accounts and passwords for multiple services internally with our city. So this will allow us to use single sign-on to access multiple applications more securely as well. I did put that this is a unbudgeted item, although I did budget some funds for this year for MFA, but it was primarily for email multi-factor authentication, and I would like to move to one solution for all of our applications and all logins under one MFA solution. And I do want to just add that the current cost of recovering from ransomware, which is the main protection this combats, is up to about $1.8 million. So this does have a hefty price tag to implement, but it is a lot cheaper than the alternative. So I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, Councilwoman James.
Yeah, I think you might have answered that in your reply right then, because I was gonna ask, is InterDev the only company and the best company that provides the MFA?
So they are not. The solution we're looking at specifically is called Duo. It is probably the most common in government. I've implemented at several cities previously. So we're purchasing that solution through we already have a standing security agreement with InterDev that includes some other services as well in the security realm. So it makes sense to add it on as an item within that existing agreement and have them handle or work with us on the implementation of connecting all of our applications to that.
It's called Duo?
The application itself is called Duo for multi-factor authentication. Yes, ma'am.
Councilman Antoine? Councilman Gutierrez? Councilwoman Wells?
No,
And
thank you.
Councilman Mears. Thank you. Item 5, council discussion and approval on the multi-factor authentication policy. As a precursor to the planned implementation of system-wide multi-factor authentication, the IT department wanted to present a policy for approval by the mayor and council. The purpose of this policy is to define a multi-factor authentication along with its scope of expectations, as this will impact all city staff. This will be the first of many upcoming IT-specific policies to be presented to mayor and council. Hello.
Good evening again. So not much to add to that. This will be a big change from our users. It won't be very painful for them, but it will add an extra step when logging in and accessing systems. So I wanted to put a policy out that all of our users can be aware of what this is, what does it include, and the biggest piece of that is in the policy, there's a couple different ways to use the application. For anybody that has a city-issued cell phone, we'll just push the app to their cell phone and configure it for them. If they do not have a city-issued cell phone, we will be providing little fobs that will issue that code for them for multi-factor authentication. If they do not want to use that fob, I am recommending in this policy that we allow them to use a personal device to install the application for authentication. And that can be a little bit controversial. So I wanted to bring that up and be transparent about that and talk about that a little bit. Just for some background information, each time you have a push for the multi-factor authentication, it uses about 2 kilobits of data. And just for reference, an email is 75 kilobits. And so, I mean, it will be less data than sending 1 email a month in total. So just wanted to put that out there, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Councilwoman James. Councilman Antoine. Councilman Gutierrez. Councilman Wells. Thank you. And Councilman Mears. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, council discussion and approval to purchase an asphalt tar kettle machine. Background and history. Public Works is seeking approval to purchase a crucial piece of equipment, an asphalt tar kettle. The asphalt tar kettle is a trailer-mounted asphalt tar distributor designed for the application of seal coats, enhancing pavement strength, and addressing potholes before the asphalt is poured. Public Works urgently requires this equipment to facilitate prompt and effective pothole improvements and repairs across the city. The name of the vendor that the equipment is being purchased from is Reynolds Warren Equipment, and they are under Sourcewell contract number 060122-VTL. The cost associated with the purchase of the asphalt tar kettle is $21,983.60. To cover this expense, we propose reallocating funds from 3 existing capital project line items, which are as follows. Line item 300-51-1540-54-2504, floor, buffer, and polisher, $2,000. Line item number 300-51-1540-54-2505, vertical air compressor, $600. And line item 300-27-1535-54-2503, truck tire changer, $19,918, with a total $22,518. Good evening.
Hello, Mayor and City Council, Gerard Jeter, Procurement Division. Basically, I can just talk about the process of purchasing this equipment, and it came through our Sourcewell contract, which is basically a statewide contract. So therefore, we know this is the best price for this particular item, but any other discussion, Public Works would have to answer any other questions. But the process was done properly.
Thank you. Mr. Jinks, anything you'd like to add at this time?
Madam Mayor, it was just some stuff we had on the capital line item that we was able to fix in-house and save the city $20-some thousand instead of buying a new item, not knowing that the tar tack wagon that we've had for over 30-something years decided to fall apart. So we was able to take capital money that was already pre-budgeted for the other items and resource it to purchase it.
Thank you, Councilwoman James. Councilman Antoine. Councilman Gutierrez. Councilwoman Wells. Councilman Mears. Thank you. Item 7, council discussion and approval of the One Light Initiative Streetlight Upgrade, background and history. As part of our ongoing commitment towards community engagement and addressing concerns raised by residents, the One Click app has played a major role in bringing awareness to various issues within the city. One such concern brought to our attention is the inadequate light visibility at night on 2 specific streets. In alignment with the ongoing One Light initiative, a collaborative effort between Georgia Power and the City of Forest Park, a thorough assessment was conducted at the following 2 locations. The first is 1990 Watts Road, with a recommendation to install 1 new 120-watt fixture on the existing pole with a monthly cost of $27, and the other is 4920. Okay. The recommendation is to install 1 new 120-watt fixture to on the existing pole with a monthly cost of $27, with the total cost for both locations being $54. And the line item for street lighting is 100-51-4260-53-1233. We believe that implementing these recommendations will not only address the concerns raised by residents, but also contribute to the overall safety and well-being of the community. The One Light Initiative emphasizes the importance of well-lit public spaces, and we are confident that these additions will significantly enhance the visibility on the mentioned streets. Yes, sir.
Good evening. It's just, basically too, that's been brought to our attention that we just need to go ahead and to address. And it will be the new, low energy fixtures, so it should be, in the long run, the costs will be absorbed with all the other new lights we're having put in. The overall cost will go down.
Mayor Butler, if you will.
Yes, sir.
One of the things I also would like to bring back forward to this governing body is that at current, we pay an exorbitant amount of money for street lights on residential property. The normal way to do that is through a street light district. And so we would be interested to know if the council would consider such legislation. I know we've talked about it a little bit before, but the way that street district would work, the residents would essentially, over an amortized period, pay the cost of that bill for the year in addition to their tax bill. Because ordinarily, a city doesn't pay for residential streetlights. The cost is borne on the actual resident. And I don't know where it started in Forest Park, but we're footing that cost for a lot of them. I think I'm saying the terminology right, street lighting district.
Be a special tax assessment. We could call it the streetlight district, but that, you said it correctly, Mr. City Manager. It would be a part of the annual taxes, the ad valorem taxes on the property. In order to adopt it, first you'd have to hold a public hearing and then adopt an ordinance establishing the special district.
Councilwoman James?
Thank you for that. I would actually like to know, Mr. Clark, what that cost would look like before we move forward with,
So if the
putting
co- if the cost for the one that we're currently presenting now, or if.
no, I was talking about the redistricting.
So
the
if,
lighting,
if the
lighting
cost is $54, 54 divided by 2 is 27, 27 times 12 is 324. That means on the residential tax bill, they would pay 324. It's no profit for the city, which is the cost of the actual street light is paid for by the property owner. You just
Right.
imagine if every resident in the city said, we want a new street light. The city is incurring that cost, and that's not the way it's typically done.
Right, no, but what I'm asking is not for this particular item, but to bring it back before like a public hearing, to know what that cost is gonna look like. When you say we're paying a lot, an exorbitant amount for the lighting of the city, I would like to know what that would be as far as the breakup, if we were to propose that for the city.
I don't know if we could go retroactively, Attorney Matricardi, and charge an assessment on the ones that we're already paying, but moving forward, any new lights, the cost would be borne on the actual property owner.
okay.
I want to say, and our finance team probably can assist me, there seems to be a number between $50,000 and $70,000. How much is it, Mr.?
It's basically one light serves 4 residents, single-family dwellings, so you got 5,100 single-family dwellings divided by 4.
Prior to the regular meeting, I'll have a number for you just so that you can hear what the monthly amount is that we're paying for residential streetlights. And somewhere between 50 and 70,000 seems to be a right number in my mind.
Want to say it's 339,000 a year in that one line item.
And you think about it, most municipalities don't pay that cost.
Councilman Antoine?
No.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Yeah, I'm eager to know, like, attorney, you represent other cities. Is that common then? The city does it? How does it start? How's that even there?
So generally, cities will pay for the light fixtures on public rights of way. So Forest Parkway, for instance, paying for that. If it's a private neighborhood and the roads haven't been dedicated to the city, that's something that would be the responsibility of the homeowners themselves or a homeowners association. If they wanted to install streetlights but didn't have the funds to do so and sought assistance from the city would essentially be fronting the bill to later be assessed on the private property owners. But so most cities that I represent do not pay for private streets, any lighting on private streets.
So I guess, did we just take it upon ourselves just to light the city?
So
It was
I
way
think it was
before
way
us.
before this administration that these lights were installed.
I know it's not all the lights. It's like every other light in the
And-
neighborhood.
And one of the reasons, Councilman Gutierrez, and I said this when this initially came up, the council was not even seeing these agreements. And so the reason this awareness is where it is now is because every streetlight request, I'm placing every last one on the agenda. Because even though the cost is within my fiscal controls, that is a cost that the city will be paying for in perpetuity. And so I've intentionally did it this way so that you can see the more you add to it, the higher that number is. And what happens is, and it's happened with several of our governing body members, citizens are reaching out, we have dark spots and we've just been paying for the street lights. But a lot of these are old lights. Now, what's the initiative called?
One light.
I'm
One
sorry.
light
The One
initiative.
Light Initiative, the lights in which we've been able to repair, for the majority of them, we're just converting the old technology to LED lights to, in fact, reduce the lights. A lot of that cost we're not paying for. And for the ones that we've been paying for, we've been bringing those to you as well. And I shared, there's a lot of lights because of previous administrations. There are a lot of lights where the city was on fixed billing and 60 or 70% of the lights don't even work. And so we've tried to rectify a lot of that. By the time this is over, we would have replaced over 2,000 lights around the city.
Councilwoman Wells?
No, I don't know. I guess I'm on the fence about it because, I mean, so the residents have to pay to be safe in their community, basically. That's how I'm looking at it. Like, that's their
Yeah,
responsibility.
no, for the most part, now what this would be, it would be new lights, additional lights, because the majority of the streets in Forest Park residential neighborhoods, they have lights, but the requests that we have been receiving are for additional lights, and for the additional lights, yeah, they would, if you adopted the, street light district ordinance.
And just so that I'm clear and everyone else is clear, it wouldn't go back, like, we wouldn't go back and try to get those funds. It would
No,
start from.
no.
Okay,
We would have a whole lot of issues if we tried to do
with me too.
that.
Councilman Mears? So my question is, what constitutes a district?
So, well, with that, we would actually have to look at where the lights are, where future lights would be, and then the adjacent homes, would be that one district. So it's whichever homes are benefited by the light. So they would be responsible for that light. If we're talking, going forward rather than.
So would there be a certain percentage of those homeowners that would have to buy into it in order to move forward?
Correct.
What's that percentage?
I would have to, I
Yeah.
can't give that off the top of my
Okay.
head, but
There's a petition that they. have
yeah,
to sign.
so I can, pull that information for you, Mayor, and then report back.
Okay.
Is this legislation that the governing body would like us to work on and bring back for further discussion?
I would think so for me. What number are we on, number 8? Yes, item 8, council discussion and approval of Perkins Park Basketball Court resurfacing contract. Background and history. As part of our ongoing efforts to enhance the pocket parks within the city, staff is seeking consideration and approval to enter into a contract for the resurfacing of the Perkins Park Basketball Court. I would like to bring to your attention the following details regarding this matter. Background: the previous contract for the resurfacing of the basketball court approved on January 2nd, 2024 was not executed due to the contractor's inability to secure a performance bond per section 3-1-40. Current situation, excuse me. Public Works has obtained 2 additional estimates for the resurfacing project. The first is Accurate Property Services Estimate Number 0000661 in the amount of $57,380.45. This estimate covers all materials and labor except for backboards and goals. The second one, Playworks Playsets LLC, estimate number 4175 in the amount of $54,154.65. This estimate includes all materials and labor required for the project. The recommendation: after careful consideration, staff recommends moving forward with Playworks Playsets LLC for the following reasons. First is the experience. Playworks Playsets LLC specializes in playground and outdoor sports equipment, making them well-suited for this project. Next is cost. Their estimate of $54,154.65 is $3,225 lower than that of their competitor, providing a cost savings to the city. Third is the funding. The proposed contract falls under line item 100-20-1110-54-2507, which is from Ward 4 projects. And the conclusion: considering the above, Public Works request approval to proceed with entering into a contract with Playworks Playsets LLC for the resurfacing of the Perkins Park basketball court, with the understanding that a performance bond would be needed for the execution of said contract. Good evening.
Again, Gerard Jeter, Procurement Division. And I pretty much think the mayor had stated everything that needs to be heard. This procurement was done properly. And as you can see, the other Accurate Property did not include the backboards and goals, and the other company did. So they gave us a full spectrum of what we needed to upgrade this park. With that said, Public Works, got any other questions? But it was done properly.
Thank you so much for that declaration. Mr. Jinks, is there anything you would like to add?
I just pray that this is the last time we're up here on this matter. 3 times makes a charm, I hope.
Yes,
Mayor Butler.
yes, sir.
One of the considerations that we have, and again, we've been going on this journey for a long time with several different companies. We only have 1 additional basketball court in the city. And depending on how this one goes, we would just like authorization, if a performance bond is provided, so that we can try to get a quote on both of them and just get it out the way at one time. I think that makes better sense for us. But again, we've gone through a number of companies, and we certainly don't want to hear any more about these backer
You can
boards.
say my name.
Thank you. Councilwoman James, Councilman Antoine, Councilman Gutierrez.
What's a performance bond?
I'll let Mr. Jeter explain city policy as it relates to the performance bond.
According to the state contract, any procurement over $50,000 requires a performance and a bid bond. So we want a performance bonds to make sure the contractor performs properly and finishes the job. If they don't, we call their bond in, bonding company would have to take the job over. That's basically what a performance bond does.
Councilman Wells.
I just appreciate the transparency, because I don't want any issues with these parks now being under me. So thank you, Mr. Jeter, for that, for the process being done properly. And then 2, I want to say, and I have a question, a question. So I have been speaking with someone, that is actually interested, in giving the funding for the parks in Ward 4. And so if that was to be the case, which I pray to God that is, would I be able to use those funds? Would they stay in my capital outlay and I'd be able to use those funds for another project, or to maybe add things to the park?
If there was a sponsor that in fact provided, or a donor that provided the money for the renovations after we had expended such funds. So as long as it doesn't cross over budget years, I don't see it, we could. We would take the additional revenue and offset it with the expenditure. Attorney Metro Carter, would you like to speak further as to how we would actually do that? So if there is a funder, we know going in how that would work.
So a budget amendment would be necessary just to move the money around. And then it depends on the donation, if there's any restrictions associated with the donation on how the funds are supposed to be expended.
It's not unheard of. I've certainly heard of individuals sponsoring parks in their communities.
Councilman Mears.
That sounds good to me. We need to keep our courts and everything up, and I think we need to move ahead with it. But we need to be also ensured that there's no hidden costs around that we don't know about or what happens. Make sure the card's laid, the card played. Okay?
Yes, sir. I will say, and as you've seen tonight, we've made an executive decision that all of our procurements are presented by procurement because they are the ones that are involved in the process in ensuring that the departments are following the guidelines as outlined by our city charter as well as any and all procurement policies. There can be no additional charges to this playground, to this park without a change order that would have to be approved by this council. And subsequent to this doesn't stop us from the other work that we're doing in all of these parks and changing out the playground equipment. I think that'll be before you on the next agenda, but we didn't get through the final procurement things, but we now have quotes to change out the playground equipment for every park in the city, every pocket park in the city.
Mr. Jeter, I think my question is for you. The performance bond, is it that the company solicits a performance bond once they're awarded the contract?
Oh, they have to know what their cost is based upon the bid that they've submitted. So normally a performance bond is around 1.5%, maybe 2% of what the total cost is. That's what it's like a premium. You have to pay an insurance company for that, for them to underwrite the cost.
Okay, thank you.
Or,
Yes, sir.
It's in the overall price, right, that he submits to us. His part of the performance bond, which he takes care of, is figured in his price that he gives to us.
That's correct.
Item 9, council discussion and approval on the plumbing repairs for the outdoor pool, background and history. The outdoor pool was built in 1963 and still contains the original galvanized piping system for plumbing. The plumbing system needs repair due to constantly backing up during regular operation and wear and tear of the original pipes. We are requesting funding to repair the plumbing and the pool house restrooms. We are utilizing our on-call plumbing contractors to perform the repairs. If repairs cannot be made immediately, the pool will fail its annual inspection for summer operations. Quick Action Plumbers has been issued a task order for the repairs on the outdoor pool in the amount of $13,380.69.
Hello again.
Hello.
River Division. Okay, the repairs on this swimming pool was done by what we call our on-call plumbing contractors. What we did was, when I first got here, we identified that there were no licensed plumbers or licensed electricians or people or staff people with these licenses. So we went out to for the general public and we identified, we wanted 3 on-call plumbers, but we only got 2, which means that we can address emergencies without going out for a full-blown procurement. That means these people have already been pre-qualified and they have been doing the work since 2021. Their contract comes up again for renewal this year. We'll bring forth those contracts to you, but presently, Quick Action is one of our on-call plumbers, and the other one is Max Air Mechanical. That's the other one. So basically what we're doing is we're assigning task orders as they come up, or either they bid against each other, but we know we got the best price to do this.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So pretty much, like Mr. Jeter said, the drain is pretty much sitting on top of the pipes, and over time, it's just sinking on the pipes and have crushed. They've been there for a long time, so we just need to replace the pipes.
Councilwoman James. Councilman Antoine. Councilman Gutierrez. Councilwoman Wells. Councilman Maris.
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Madam
Uh,
Mayor, I
yes,
do have a
ma'am.
point of order.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the past, I had asked, Attorney Mike at the time to include the council members on the resolutions. I appreciate not having to sign all the paperwork. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for that. But I do want to have all of the council members listed on each resolution so that in the future, when someone is looking at resolution, they can see who the council members were. I don't know if you all agree with that or not, but.
That's a simple change. I know it's been that way with the mayor and the clerk and the attorney approving as the form. But we can change it any way this governing body directs. Is it just you want the names listed, or do you want the signature line there as well?
No, I don't think we have to sign it. I just think it's important that we know who the council members are. My estimation.
That's fine. All right, easy request. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
That's Councilwoman James. Is there a second? Councilwoman Wells, all in favor? All right, thank you. You guys need a break or can we? Okay, 3 minutes. All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7:17 to the regular session for mayor and council for March 18th is called to order. All right, so we are gonna have a special invocation done by Mr. Carl Evans tonight. To all those who are able to stand, can you please do so and then remain standing throughout the Pledge of Allegiance?
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this wonderful day you've given us to gather here, Lord, to be about your business and the city's business and try to bring the two of them together, Lord. We thank you for the wisdom and knowledge that you're giving this governing body to act in ways that will please you, Lord, and will look out for all of us, Lord, in the future. We thank you for guiding us and protecting us. Be about us, be with us as we go about our way, and bring us back here to our next appointed time. In Jesus' holy and precious name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah.
Ms. Rainey, roll call, please.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, council members, and City Manager, Mr. Clark. This is the roll call for the regular session of March 18th, 2024. Mayor Butler,
Present.
Councilmember James,
Present.
Councilmember Anton,
Evening, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Councilmember Gutierrez, Councilmember Akins Wells,
Here.
Councilmember Mears,
Here.
Mayor Butler, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. The approval of the minutes from March 4th, our regular meeting and our work session meeting. Has everyone had the opportunity to review them or are there any changes to be recommended?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
On page 15 of the regular meeting, just want to make sure Jasmine's name is spelled correctly. I think it's spelled with a J instead of a Y.
No, it is with a Y.
It's
Yasmin,
Mhm.
Yasmin, but it's
Right.
pronounced Jasmine.
Right, but it's spelled incorrectly on page 15.
I don't have my agenda with me. So it should be a Y.
It should be a Y, yes.
Oh, I thought you said it should be a J.
No, no, it's in the minutes with a J and an E on the end. It should
So it's
not be.
Yasmin. Got it. All right, if there's no other changes to be recommended, is there a motion to approve the minutes with the recommended changes?
So moved.
That was Councilwoman James. There's a second by Councilwoman Wells. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Public comments, Ms. Rainey. You have the floor, ma'am.
Yes, public comments, regulations, rules of procedure, and decorum. Section 2-1-7, rules of procedure and decorum. Comments will be limited to a total of 3 minutes per speaker. 21 minutes are allotted in total. Members of the public are not allowed to participate in any debate or discussion conducted by the governing body members. All public comments must be limited to matters on the agenda or over which the governing body has jurisdiction. Each speaker must maintain a decorous demeanor and refrain from personal attacks upon members of the governing body or employees, shouting and using obscene language. All questions and comments shall be directed to the presiding officer, and members of the governing body may respond to the comments during their closing comments if they desire.
Thank you. And before, Mr. Evans, you're up first. And as you're walking up, Attorney Matricardi, question. Do we need to formally adopt something to ensure that when people are speaking at the public comment section, that they are not being derogatory towards other members who are also participating in public comments? Does that make sense?
So you already have a policy for public comments, and it would just be amending that policy to incorporate such language.
All right, thank you. Mr. Evans, you have the floor, sir.
Good evening. I just wanted to mention that I had yet another missed pickup from Waste Management last week. That happens 5-6 times a year. I mean, that is, I'm sure, a breach of their contract. Also, it's stealing from us because we're paying for services not being rendered. But in response, I had Alan Owens came out to my house on Friday and met with me to address the issue. And you don't get that everywhere. So there is good and bad with that, but I would like to see something to be done to reimburse us when we get those missed pickups, and having two the next week or whatever, that doesn't really help. I mean, because that's not what they're contracted to do. They're supposed to pick up the sanitation one day and the recycling one day, and then of course the bulk as needed. And when they don't do that, I mean, we're not getting a service that we're paying for, and that needs to be addressed. I mean, they've never been held accountable for that. But like I said, I've had Mr. Owens, come out probably 3 or 4 times in the 10+ years or whatever that they've had the contract, and you don't get that if you call, Atlanta Gas Light to come out for something that, their director or whatever doesn't show up to your house, so he is taking an interest in it. And I just wanted to mention both of those. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chris? Miss Chris? Oh. Is it's scratched out on South Avenue?
Yeah, that's all brother.
Oh, okay.
Hello, how you doing?
Hello.
I'm doing pretty good. I've, I live on South Avenue, and uh, mm, I seen some stuff go down there that the I seen some stuff, but there's no street lights. There's like no cameras. There's nothing. And I was trying to see um if y'all could put cameras up in that area, because it's like pitch dark, can't see nothing. And about a week ago, I seen a stolen car get ditched in the same apartment complex, and there was no cameras, there were no street lights, there was no nothing. And I called Forest Park out. They came out and addressed it, and they took it from there. So my main concern is there any way that they can get like street lights or cameras? And I've heard y'all say something about like street lights. The street lights, if y'all could put like cameras on the new street lights that y'all will be getting, I think that would help as well.
Mhm.
Like load cameras on the street lights so you know what's going on. And I'm pretty sure that would help. And that's my main concern.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Randall?
Hello, Miss Mayor.
Hello.
I only got a few incy concerns. I know previously you've gotten some complaints about me doing fireworks on my property, which I've noticed Forest Park responding code 3 to those types of calls, which is I think is unnecessary. Because if one of those police cruisers comes flying around the corner and strikes a car, guess what? Then the city would be held liable for it for something that's not even a crime, wasn't past no city curfew, nothing like that, which I understand. I have a couple of Karens in my area that calls, which I know who they are, because they admitted to it. Which I don't understand why people call for fireworks anyway, when you got my neighbor in front of me that discharges his AK-47 mostly every night. Then also you got drug deals going down on City View, which Forest Park ain't doing nothing, because I've called numerous times about it. I got friends that put it in through One Clay. No extra police patrol in that area. They rather harass and stalk the crap out of someone that's doing something very lawful and legal to do, which is fireworks, which I don't understand it myself. I know y'all are talking about making a new law or something like that regarding fireworks. It's not gonna stop me. I'm gonna fight it and I'm gonna win because state overrides city. And I go by state laws, not city ordinances. I don't really like this new law that y'all are trying to push in effect because you're basically taking away a hobby, an activity, and also someone's freedom. And if those three things get out in public and someone decides like, hey, I'm just gonna go out and expose this, who's that gonna come back on them? Who's gonna be the person that's gonna look bad about it? Not me. You know, also, I filed some complaints. Y'all don't do nothing about me filing complaints. I don't get notified. I don't get reached out to. But when someone makes a complaint against me, y'all all suddenly just want to do your jobs. Looking for Zach. He knows all about it as well. You know, I don't understand it myself. If shooting guns and selling drugs is more legal than shooting fireworks, I encourage everybody to do it. Because if you're gonna come to my house and harass me over fireworks, just don't even worry about the dude shooting guns. Because those bullets come up, they will come back down. And if you end up killing somebody, guess what? How long does it take for law enforcement to show? Last time I called, 10 minutes tops. But like their dispatcher said, they always got priority calls.
You? City managers report.
Yes, ma'am, Mayor and Council. Again, we are always uber excited to present the monthly managers report. This month, of course, we like to keep you on your toes. We are going to start the city managers report with a short video that highlights our first annual St. Patrick's Day event. So again, we're super proud of Mr. Kwame Amulero Marshall, who is here with us on tonight for putting together just more amazing ways for us to market our community. So please take a look at our first St. Patrick's Day, and the rain did hold off for about 2 hours. So again, thank you for the efforts of our Economic Development Department, our Main Street Board, Ms. Rochelle Dennis, Interim Director for Economic Development, helped put this entire event together. So if we please could give her a hand for all the work that she did.
Extend your arm. He could do it from his computer.
Okay, we'll do it the old way. Again, we are excited to share the February edition of the City Manager's Report. While the world celebrated love on Valentine's Day, we, as part of your executive offices, celebrated the love we have for our community and reprioritize the needs for our residents. Our first town hall meeting of the year was simply a highlight as we engaged with our employees and shared the results of our employee survey. We were elated to receive positive feedback from our employees who expressed renewed commitment to serving our community. With our operational audit and assessment of the organization underway, we are optimistic about aligning our KPIs with strategic metrics. We are also encouraged by the positive uptick in sustainable economic development, which is a testament to our city's growth. Our focus on diversifying our housing portfolio and enhancing our residents' quality of life is a step toward becoming the crown jewel of the South. We know this will require strategic planning, enhanced communication with the community, and our governing body charting the core. With the growth happening south of Atlanta and the exceptional work of our directors, we're confident in our ability to maintain a robust market presence. We'll continue to collaborate with our residents on the home program, recognizing our legacy residents as one of our most valuable assets. As leaders of Clayton County's largest municipality, we are elated and committed to positive progress in the coming weeks, months, and years ahead. We pledge to work closely with our residents and governing body to ensure Forest Park's ongoing prosperity. As always, we like to highlight our employees who celebrated work anniversaries. So first, I'd like to highlight one of our employees that is here, and that is Ms. Diane Lewis, our Deputy Director of HR, who has celebrated 26 years in the month of February. I'd also like to note Nikita Davis, who works tirelessly in the background, ensuring that our financials, our APs are in line, celebrated 19 years with the city of Forest Park. For our legislative corner, we'd like to report that this year, for the month of February, we engaged in 32 calls from the community and 129 home program applicant approvals. Some of the events noted within the legislative corner, Mayor Butler hosted the Ladies of Favor and read to the kids, as well as was featured in the WAR, Women Around Our Regions event, the Meet the Mayor's events, and the Greenhouse Dome Tour. For Councilwoman Kimberly James in Ward 1, the local business breakfast was held at Forest Park High School. The Black History Play that this council supported, The Journey, which was a huge success. The Forest Park Ward Meeting Career Day Expo, and the Greenhouse Dome Tour as well. For Councilman Anton, staff mailed out 102 donation letters to Haiti to ship the Water Buffalo Rescue Squad unit. For Ward 3, Councilmember Hector Gutierrez hosted the Black History exhibit, the Teen in Action Committee event at Forest Park High School, and the Galileo event. For Ward 4, Councilwoman Latrice Akins-Wells held the Wellness with Wells Time 4, as well as we worked to plan the upcoming job fair. For Ward 5, Councilman Alan Mears hosted the Arbor Day event. For the executive officer snapshot, this page just chronologizes some of the activities of our executive and legislative offices. You can see there at the top, Councilman Gutierrez winning awards. The picture to the left in pink is the Women Around the Region event. For Arbor Day, for Ward 4, we actually have a snapshot of code enforcement planting some form of a tree. The picture below that is at an event at the gymnasium, and Ms. James with the event over at the high school. We were also fortunate for Ward 4. Ms. Wells hosted, in conjunction with national celebrity Erica Dixon, to host one of the Ward 4 Wellness with Wells events. Per council's request, the next slide is indicative of something new that we're showing in the report. This breaks down the businesses that are new by ward. So everybody will be able to see the new businesses that had business licenses issued for the previous month. Ms. Wells brought this to our attention based upon some new businesses being open, and it was just a way for us to realize that we want to ensure that our governing body knows the new businesses that are coming within your respective districts, just in case you want to stop by and say hello. The next slide just simply shows a picture of Erica Dixon, who owns a business there on Main Street. Her and Ms. Wells, Erica was actually working, Ms. Wells was just posing for the camera as we celebrated Wellness with Wells on that day. The next slides show the employee survey results. I will not bore you going over these results again because we've already done that, but it is very awarding to see how when we did the survey this time, how the results improved from the survey that we did previously back in May of last year. One of the things of note in April, Mayor Butler will bring back the Leaf Life Initiative because our employees were very interested in mental health assistance as well as feasibility of a hybrid work week. And so those are things that we'll bring back before you in April when Mayor Butler brings part 2 of the Leaf Life Initiative to the forefront. All right, we're going to skip through all of the slides of the survey. We ask our community if you really want to see some of the things that we've done within the organization. This survey really shows the buy-in that we've had from our employees. Ms. Pauline continues to do an exceptional job of spearheading not only our operational audit, but our home program. We will ensure that those data points are sent out to each of you so that you can see how many applicants we've had. And I think we've narrowed the pot down to 129 approved, I believe, Ms. Pauline. And so moving on to our capital projects, the fund work, we are still forging ahead in completing the city center. At current, we've completed all of the site plans, floor plans, and exterior elevations. We're looking forward to bringing you a 3D model of that city center sometime within the next 60 to 90 days. But as it relates to the floor plan, everything in the building has been completely planned out. For the public, this building will feature not only our recreation and leisure department, but also a brand new state-of-the-art senior center, as well as the administrative offices and the police department will be combined all under one roof. We're really excited about this project and what it will mean for the transformation of Forest Parkway. Next, we spoke at our last meeting about us updating the signs around the city to showcase the new branding that we have. This sign is just a better rendition of the signs that we'll be using to change out all of our parks here in the city of Forest Park. This one shows Alder Drive Park there in Ward 1. Next, the welcome sign uplighting. The city, through the governing body, has given the okay for those lights to be installed, and we're just simply waiting for Georgia Power to commence the work. Next, the business incubator, our construction drawings at this point are at 50%. Again, this is an adaptive reuse of what was once known as a Rite Aid. The estimated project cost is around $4.4 million. We have some exciting announcements relative to this space. So we're just excited about what the future holds for us to ensure that we're doing something for our small business incubator. Small business entrepreneurs, I'm sorry. This project here, this rendering here just shows the full own city center and its placement on Forest Parkway, along with some additional features of the renovations that are currently in flux with Star Park. We've also been working with both our police and fire department on just assessing the facility on Forest Parkway for some of their needs, and we'll report externally on that within the coming months. Lastly, for the Forest Park Landscape Median Project, I know this has been something that the governing body has wanted to see done for a number of years. Those task orders have been complete. We're simply waiting on the different RFP documents to begin that work, hopefully before the fourth quarter of this year. For our departmental updates for our city clerk's office, for the month of February, the city clerk fielded 183 open records requests. For the month of February, 139 were complete and 44 were canceled. Next slide, please. For code enforcement, our code enforcement continues to forge ahead in the activities that they do. They were donated a large amount of trees, and they in fact put together an event with each of the respective council members to plant trees in some of the pocket parks here around the city. In addition to that, the Beautification Commission hosted their very first meeting. For code violations for the month of February, we had 186 cases. We resolved 173 of those cases for junk vehicles. Total cases for the month of February was 647 cases, with most of those cases being for outdoor storage issues in and around the city. Next slide, please. Of course, in February, our Economic Development Director, Mr. Bruce Abraham, retired effective February 29th, 2024. And our Interim Director, Ms. Rochelle Dennis, has taken the helm to ensure the sustainability of our Economic Development Department. They have begun the process of just figuring out internal process tracking citywide in an effort for us to be more cohesive and more accountability and transparency. We've all started using the Asana platform, which is a task management system to ensure that nothing is left behind. Additional information is forthcoming about an event to celebrate the fact that Fort Gillem is now recognized around the world as the largest, growing, fastest, rapid redevelopment of a decommissioned military base in the world with over a $1 billion impact. And I think that's something as a community we all can celebrate and all of the advances that this governing body has allowed there at the Fort Gillem site. All right, moving on again to our Office of Finance for the month of February with business license and occupational taxes. We collected a total of $305,000 as well as $127,000 with sanitation revenue. For property taxes for the month, we've collected $1.2 million. Our Finance Department is working on finalizing the ERP Pro 9 SaaS updates, which will allow for additional AP automation. We're trying to get out of paper checks so that vendors can be paid electronically, as well as we're excited that OpenGov will more than likely be completed prior to the time of our budget adoption, which will allow for full transparency to our community about the inflows and outflows of our finances and would allow them the opportunity to take part, see what all we are doing. The next slide simply shows a picture with the city manager in a wrinkled suit with all of the employees there in the gymnasium. Just to make sure everybody is awake, Councilman Gutierrez. For our fire department, our fire department continues to fill vacant positions. As you know, we recently had a push for paramedics only. We're excited that that promotion, we have solidified 2 individuals that are in the process of going through hiring for those positions. And our fire department continues to put forth state-of-the-art initiative just to ensure that they are the best fire department in the world. One of the other things that we're excited about is that the executive offices were able to provide the fire department 2 Pelotons just to help with their cardiovascular exercise. Pictured below, you can see some of them using that equipment. Council members, if you've never been able to use a Peloton, if you'll schedule some time with me, I would love to take you out to the stations just to show you what it is and the way that it will ensure that they stay healthy. Next slide. For our Office of Human Resources, we continue to work through filling all of our vacant positions. We would also like to regrettably announce that our amazing Community and Planning Director, Ms. LaShawn Gardner, will be leaving us soon, and we're just super excited of the amazing things that she has brought to this community, and we look forward to wishing her well and thanking her for the diligent effort she's made on behalf of the city of Forest Park. So if you please could join me in thanking Ms. Gardner for all that she did. All right. Moving on, we also, the next picture just shows the recent swearing in of one of our city chaplains, and that is Pastor Jeremy Tuck, Senior Pastor of the Living Faith Church on Old Dixie.
What? And that's our church. I'm gonna make sure I let it know.
My sincere apologies, Living Faith. This is a lot of reading. For our Office of Information Technology, we are super excited with the work that Director Cox and Mr. Rodney Virgil continue to do in the midst of a scare that we have for the organization. We're excited that we have qualified staff to handle those things just to limit our exposure. The presentation and the actions on the agenda tonight are just one way that we will continue to ensure that we try to stay ahead of the curve with technology to ensure that we try to prevent as many attacks on our technology infrastructure as possible. For Municipal Court, Ms. Dorothy Roper Jackson, who did an amazing job with their first presentation to Mayor and Council on today. For the month of February, there were there were a total of 1,497 citations issued, of which 704 of them were disposed, 259 were adjudicated. For the month of February, for probation fines, I know that was something that Ms. James asked about. For the month of February, we collected $54,606 for probation. Sorry.
No, he has none. No, don't worry.
For our planning and community development department, we had several plans. You can see them listed there. 5 residential permits and 3 commercial building permits were issued. We also fielded 24 zoning verifications and 27 trade permits were issued for the month of February. For the month of February, for the police department, our police department participated in a number of opportunities engaging with the community. Of note, the career day at Utopian Academy for the Art. You can see our K-9 officer there with those brave kids standing right behind them. For our police department, as it relates to our statistics, our crime is still down based upon year-by-year trend. And so we're just excited that we are close to fully staffed in our police department. It will be the first time in over a decade that we've been to the staffing levels that we are. For the office of our PIO, our PIO promoted several events that we've already mentioned, and we were able to get media alert for several of our events, and we were featured on Channel 2 News, Atlanta News First, as well as the mayor's events were all featured on the news. And our fire chief was featured for Blazing the Trail, which recognized Atlanta's Black women fire chiefs. Our Office of PIO fielded 11 different work orders for the month of February. In the Office of Public Works, there were a total of 7 days that we used a street sweeper, and they're responsible for 79.23 miles throughout the city. We continue to look to fill internal vacancies within the Public Works Department. We've held job fairs. They will be present at the job fair held by Ward 4 next month. So we're continuing to try to ensure that we get all of these positions filled. You can see there some of their statistics for the month. There were 17 different work orders to make signs, 30 different work orders there to replace and repair different street signs. It is our goal to replace all of the street signs around the city. And we'll also ensure that all of the COVID signs around the city are down once and for all, Mayor Butler. All right, we're going to move on to our Office of Recreation and Leisure. You can see some of their statistics there. We collected $262 with our daily passes, as well as our reservations yielded $4,520, and our programs $4,166. We continue to encourage all of our community to follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and social media sites, as well as download our brand new app that has been launched some time ago to report any and all issues that you have. Mayor and Council, that concludes my city manager's report for the month of February. I'm open to answer any questions that you may have.
And March.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He reads the fine print.
Yeah. All right, thank you so much, sir. Next is a proclamation on behalf of Councilman Gutierrez. And so can I well, it's on the agenda, the governing body to please, and Mr. Clark, please come down with me. So although from Christian Pharmacy, please come forward with us.
I'm just eternally grateful for you all. Y'all have been such a part of our community here in the heart of Forest Park. And just thank you for always providing that, extra service and for the hospitality. And, we're gonna miss you as a community. I hear it everywhere. I work in the schools. I hear it from the people there. Now we look at the other pharmacy, which is not the same. It's a big pharmacy. It's not the same care that you all gave us, but, you know, we're happy for you all, or whatever it is, for the connection. But just thank you so much for so long.
And I'll say a few words. I'd like to say appreciate, the community for 77 years of service. Not the least of that, I'm short on it, couldn't have done it without the support of the community, and without the support of the state. And that's important. That's my job so much easier. And a special thank you to my wife, that she's the brains behind the operation. But I didn't know it, baby. Thank y'all so much. Thank you.
Whereas Clinton Pharmacy was established by George Clinton in September of 1960. Service the pharmacy for the local makes it one of the oldest incorporated businesses. And whereas for more than 75 years, Christian Pharmacy offered a wide range of pharmaceutical and medical services. And whereas Christian Pharmacy remains dedicated to the philosophy and practice of Christian Pharmacy, while also dedicating its sole mission to improve the overall patient care, hospice care, and medical outcomes through high-quality, family-oriented customer service. And whereas in 2015, Mr. Ray Chris became the sole owner and chief executive officer of Christian Pharmacy and led the company to become one of the most trusted local neighborhood pharmacies in all of Clinton. And whereas Christian Pharmacy will forever be cherished as a staple in the Forest Park business community, as well as a prime example of a true community partner. Now therefore be resolved, the Forest Park City Council hereby recognizes Christian Pharmacy for its dedication, commitment, and exemplary service to the residents, businesses, and constituents of Forest Park.
What's up, bro?
We're gonna do it again.
But the locations on Phillip Drive will remain open and the compound porch.
That's right. And who's to say Christian Pharmacy won't come back in the future? It will be done with.
All right. There you go.
They don't know me.
Right now, we're gonna do, yeah.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. If you put it on up. Yep. I mean. That's.
Okay, item 3, financial reporting of the fiscal year 2023-2024 monthly financial report, background and history. There we go. The Finance Department is presenting the fiscal year 2023-2024 monthly financial review of the city's financials. The purpose of the monthly financial review is to help us know how healthy the city's cash flow is and help elevate department performance to see if the executive office needs to reallocate resources to achieve the financial goals of the city. And good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the monthly report. This is we're reporting the month of February. We can start with, go to the next slide. Staying in accordance with the city policy of how to present. This just shows a synopsis of about the city, a few facts. Next slide. It shows a picture of mayor and council. Next slide. Shows a picture of city manager and lists has a list of the names of all the directors, department directors. Right here, this particular slide here, this is the general fund with February summary by category. That means it's just showing the categories as far as when you look at the revenues and expenses. The categories for the revenues from taxes, licenses and permits, intergovernmental revenue, charges for services, fines, forfeitures, investment income, contribution and donations, and miscellaneous revenue. Total budget for revenue was $38,484,401. During the month, we incurred we received revenue in at $1,638,319. Year-to-date, actual is $28,422,422,076. That's leaving us a balance which is left from the budget to actual is $10,062,325. We jump down to the expenses, the categories of personal service, purchase contract services, some supplies, capital outlay, other costs, interest, and other financial uses. Those categories come to a total budget of $37,594,967. The month that we spent was $2,504,897. Year-to-date expenses for the general fund was $20,018,015. That gave us a balance. Left over is $17,576,952. It gave us a difference between which was revenue and between revenue and expenses was $8.4 million, which is the difference between the budget and what was actually spent. Next slide. Next slide is the general fund for February, is summary by department. This shows this table in the chart shows what the departments actually spent. So this breaks down by per department. And I won't go through all of them, but it also, if you look at the graph, graph shows by percentage wise, shows the percentage of the budget used in the particular month of February. Next slide. This slide here encumbers all other funds for February, the summary, in a summary table. These are the other funds that the city uses. We have from the federal DEA fund, the local drug task fund, all the way down to, we have E911 fund, we have the ARPA funds, hotel motel tax fund, we have a capital improvement fund, we have the SPLOSH funds, sanitation fund, and we have a DA fund and URA, as well as the DDA fund. This shows each of these funds, it gives a count between their revenue budget and the revenue actual and what there's left as far as the balance, as well as also the expenses, the expense budget and the expense actual and the expense balance. With that's my last slide for just to show you a overview of what we're doing here as far as monthly expenses and revenues. Thank you. Any
Thank you
questions?
very much. Any questions or comments, Councilwoman James? Councilman Councilman Gutierrez? Councilwoman Wells?
No,
And Councilman Ramirez? You gotta vote on this.
I don't think
We're not voting on this, correct? It's just an update. All right, thank you. Operations and Fire Marshal Highlights Presentation. Background and history. The Forest Park Fire and EMS Department will present the new roles and responsibilities of the 2 deputy fire chiefs. Each deputy will introduce their roles and responsibilities and present highlights in the Fire Marshal's Office and Operations Division. Fire Marshal's Division is Deputy Chief David Howcom, and Operations is Deputy Chief Jeff May.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
Good evening.
I was asked to present, the statistics of the Fire Marshal's Office for inspections for the last month. Before I do, I'd like to introduce the personnel that make up our team, of these people that serve the city in the Fire Marshal's Office. You able to pull that up, Rodney? That's his. That's operations. You got the other one? You know the other one? Okay. All right, well, we'll just go ahead and go with it. The Fire Marshal's Office is a division of the fire department that goes unnoticed as we work behind the scenes every day to keep the residents and the business safe. Our mission goal is to provide fire safety training and education, code compliance, and arson investigations to our citizens with knowledge, dependable, and compassionate and highly trained personnel. Well, since my presentation is not going to come up, I will go ahead and I'd like to just go ahead and introduce it. You know, the people in the Fire Marshal's Office. Again, my name is David Howcom. I'm the Deputy Chief of Support Services, and I'm the Fire Marshal for the city. I've been employed with the city for over 28 years and held the office of Fire Marshal for the last 18. The Fire Marshal's Office is made up of four other people in my team. The first one is my Deputy Fire Marshal, that's Sam Batten. Captain Batten is my Deputy Fire Marshal for over the last 18 years, and he is truly my right hand. Jim Oglesby was added to my team about 2 years ago. Jim is a certified fire and life safety inspector. He's a fire investigator and a public educator. Anthony Gallman is our newest addition to the team. His primary job is our fire safety educator. He's also cross-trained as an inspector and investigator. And last but not least is Yuana Armstrong. Her primary assignment is our city EMA coordinator. She is also cross-trained as an inspector, investigator, and a public safety educator. And now to get statistics from February. Right now, the inspections that we do on a daily basis are broke down into different categories. We break them down into annual inspections, re-inspections, certification, certificates of occupancy and business license, vacant structures. We do construction drawing approvals and inspector initiated inspections. For the month of February, My team will have conducted 20 annual inspections, 5 re-inspections, 2 certificate of occupancy and business inspections, 2 vacant structures, 1 construction drawing approval, and 3 inspector initiated inspections. That's what I have for this. Do you have any questions, please?
Any questions or comments?
I'll say, thank you so much for that. Just a question, your vacant structures, is that the public, is that a city-owned properties that's vacant or?
That is any business, any business occupancy. And what we do is while they're on patrol, they're going from business to business, doing inspections, an annual or follow-up or anything like that. If they see a vacant building, they will stop and they will check the building, make sure that it's safe and secured, any broken windows, open doors, anything like that. And then they'll document it. And what that does for us, excuse me, in the fire marshal's office, is it gives us a time date stamp of when that building was checked, in case there is an issue, if it was a break-in or a broken window, things like that, that we could actually go over and know exactly when, have a timeline of when that crime might have occurred.
So, is it just primarily commercial businesses? Do you? do
Yes, ma'am.
residential? No.
No, ma'am, we don't do residential at all.
Thank you.
Thank you for your years of service here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. How y'all doing tonight? All right. So as mentioned earlier, my name is Jeff May. I'm the new Deputy Chief of Operations, and I was asked to present a little bit about myself for those who may not know anything about me right now. Contrary to popular belief, when I started the fire department 37 years ago, the streets out front were actually paved and were not dirt roads. And we'd actually had real fire engines. They were not horse-drawn carriages. So we have, stayed modern to that effect. But that being said, when I came in the door, I was a firefighter. I was hired here as a firefighter. The city sent me to basic EMT school. A year later, they turned around and sent me to paramedic school. I don't know why. I agreed to it, but they did. And I did a 2-year contract, but y'all been stuck with me ever since. A few years after that, I got promoted to my first position as lieutenant. And then a few years after that, I became, or actually it was about 10 years after that, I became captain online. And 3 or 4 years after when I became captain online is when I became battalion chief. That's when all my dark black hair turned gray. So that being said, I spent the last 10 years or so as a battalion chief, and 2 weeks ago, I was promoted to this position here. That being said, I've worked all the positions all the way through this department, all the way in from ground firefighter all the way through. I've known pretty much what all the different positions entails. I've worked in training and things along those lines. So now my daily functions is to oversee and manage all 3 of our current shifts that we have right now. If y'all are not familiar, we work a 24/48 schedule, which means that they come in at 7 o'clock in the morning and get off at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, and another shift takes over. We run 3 shifts, A, B, and C shift, each commanded by a battalion chief, which right now I have Battalion Chief Baker, which most of y'all are familiar with, Battalion Chief Flagg, and right now I have a captain who's acting battalion chief, who's the one who's replacing my position down the road, Captain Hogan. So once that position is filled, whoever that gets, they'd be the other battalion chief at that point in time. Also oversee the training division as well. So you would move the slide forward. My presentation will be moving for the stats for the month of February, just to give you an update of what we're doing operationally wise. Ran a total of 592 calls for the month of February. As you can see on the count on the board up there, 152 of them were EMS assist, with 33 of them were fire calls, and 42 other types of situations. That could be anything from a smoke in the area complaint to someone stuck in an elevator or getting a child out of a car or anything along those lines. We ran 365 EMS types calls, with 2 of them mutual aid requests outside the city limits. Shift training. I had 12 of my personnel attended outside training at the academy for a total of 350 plus hours of training. This could have been anything from classes such as PITCO, Dominco, leadership, or any other courses that they would have taken down at the academy. All the crews also started participating in a new type of physical, physical training activity at the stations, which is referred to as HIT training or high intensity interval training. It's being demonstrated there by, as a matter of fact, that's Captain Hogan. That's on the battle ropes there. These are designed to be high intensity, short interval training events that gets them cardiovascular trained, keeps them physically fit and in shape, along with the pelotons and things along those lines. Also, all of my crews completed working on the aerial operations section of the relief driver program. And this is to ensure getting more of our personnel spun up to speed on being able to drive and operate our fire apparatus, which is one of the positions that we are currently hard pressed for, but we're working very diligently to get that taken care of. All the shifts also participated in training with our new hazmat equipment that we got this few months back called the Protect IR spectrometer. This is a new updated IR spectrometer. We currently had one in the past that's just outdated and is no longer really current and functional. The new one has got a lot more information in it now. If you're not familiar with an IR spectrometer, it's a particular device that we can pretty much take any type of substance on it and it'll analyze it and tell you what it is if you don't know what it is. It's mainly used in hazmat type situations and things along those lines. All the shifts also, and they participated training with all that to get our hazmat equipment with state-of-the-art stuff. And then in our training division, students also, the AEMT class that's in process right now with the training division, completed all their book work and got all their basic stuff out of the way on the book work. They're now starting their skills and practical stations. So hopefully they'll be completing that here in the next month or so and be out online here shortly, running the streets with the rest of us. Any questions that I can offer or answer for you on the operation side of things?
Thank you. Councilwoman James? Councilman Antoine?
For your use of service here. God bless.
Councilman Gutierrez?
Thank you, sir.
Councilwoman Wells? Thank you. Councilman Mears?
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. All right, new business, council approval on the renewal of the professional probation services contract. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
That was Councilman Antoine. Is there a second by Councilwoman Wells?
Yes.
Any further discussion? Ms. Rainey, roll call, please.
Councilmember James. Councilmember Anton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Thank you. Item 6, council approval to condemn real property located at 765 Forest Parkway. Is there a motion to approve this item? So moved. Councilwoman Wells, is there a second?
Second.
That was Councilman Mears. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Anton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Council approval on the city's investment management policy. Because I
Madam
know Councilwoman James.
I was
Okay,
gonna
yes.
say, I wanna recommend that we approve it as stated with the 25% recommended by staff.
All right, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Councilwoman Wells. Any further discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Oh, I'm sorry, further discussion, I wanted to
Yes, ma'am.
say. Thank you so much for negotiating a higher rate from the 0.0 whatever it was to the 3 point whatever. So thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, is there any appetite to increase the policy to a threshold of no more than 50%? Or I know we had substantial dialogue.
Right. Well, no, I appreciate the information that was shared. And I think that, I think Deputy Director, explained a little bit more of the nuances in, you know, what it means to move stuff and how all the stuff works. So I'm good with what the staff recommends with the 25%. And if we need to increase later, we could do that.
Ms. Rainey, roll call, please.
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Anton.
Staff, is that what you guys recommend? Thank you. Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes.
Item 8, council discussion and approval of a multi-factor authentication solution implementation. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So move.
That was Councilman Antoine. Is there a second?
Second.
That was Councilman Mears. Is there any further discussion?
So made.
Thank you. Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Anton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes.
Item 9, council discussion and approval on the multi-factor authentication policy. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Mayor.
So moved.
That was Councilwoman Wells, I'm sorry. Is there a second? That was Councilman Gutierrez. Any further discussion?
Oh, man.
Thank you. Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Anton. Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes.
Item 10, council discussion and approval to purchase an asphalt tar kettle machine. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
That was Councilwoman Wells. There's a second by Councilwoman James. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Anton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes, ma'am.
Council discussion and approval of the One Light Initiative, the street light upgrade. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
That's Councilwoman James. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilwoman Wells. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Anton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Council discussion and approval of Perkins Park Basketball Court resurfacing contract. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
Councilwoman Wells, is there a second?
I'll second.
That was Councilwoman James. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Anton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Yes.
Council discussion and approval on the plumbing repairs for the outdoor pool. Is there a motion to approve this item?
So moved.
That was Councilwoman Wells. Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second.
That was Councilman Mears. Any further discussion? All right, Ms. Rainey?
Councilmember James.
Yes.
Councilmember Anton.
Yes.
Councilmember Gutierrez. Councilmember Akins Wells.
Yes.
Councilmember Mears.
Ma'am.
Thank you very much. Closing comments by the governing body. Councilwoman James, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you so much to our two Deputy Chief, Fire Chiefs, Halcom and May. Thank you for your service. I want to thank everybody for coming out. I'm a little congested here. I will be going on vacation. I don't know if I'm taking my city phone with me. I'll be in Portland, Oregon with my daughter. Oh yeah, I may do that. But thank you all so much. I'm not sure if we're gonna have the ward meeting on Thursday. Are you gonna be in?
Yeah, I'll go to the thing afterwards.
No, I'm, okay,
Oh, yeah, no, I'm okay.
okay. All right, so, anyway, thank you all. Have a great evening.
Councilman Antoine,
Thank you all for showing up. God bless.
Councilman Gutierrez.
Thank you, everybody, for coming through. Thank you for the comments. Mr. Evans, I appreciate that Mr. Owens took the time to go talk to you and address your concerns. And I think that's a good idea also, putting cameras on the lights. Mr. Chris, thank you for coming out. First timer, you did pretty good on the mic. Give you a 4 out of 5.
Stop.
Just kidding. But we were gonna be having our Food Truck Friday coming back next month. We didn't do it last month because of the weather, but we're excited about that. Ms. Gardner, we're gonna miss you. I wish you the best in everything you do. I know I always reach out to you just to ask you for stuff, but I truly appreciate your professionalism and everything you've done for our city. So I wish you the best, and it's always home here for you if you need anything. Mr. Jeter, thank you for just all your explanations up there, man. I feel like when you walk off, it's like a mic drop. You just got that walk. And then city manager, really appreciate that very thorough report of every single little detail that's going on in our city. Thank you so much. If y'all need me, please reach out.
Councilwoman Wells.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry, y'all. They be having me cracking up. I try to be serious, but first I would like to say on a serious note, my condolences to the mayor on the passing of her father. So my condolences to you and your family, and my prayers are with you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Would like to thank everyone for coming out, and again, I piggyback off of what Councilman Gutierrez said. Ms. Gardner, thank you for all that you've given to the city. I know it's been some rough days, but you hung in there, and now it's time for you to do better things. And like I told you when we were in the restroom, you only live once, so do what makes you happy and enjoy life. And I wish you nothing but the best on your next endeavor. So thank you so much. Mr. Jeter, I guess he in the spotlight tonight. Thank you. so much for the transparency. I know, Mr. Clark, I probably get on his nerve because I'm like, I want the information. I want to know so that I know what I'm supporting, what I'm not supporting. So thank you so much for the transparency and for doing the process properly. Thank you so much. I have a few questions and I just want to be transparent. I want the people to know. So in your city manager's report, you mentioned that the council aides or someone mailed 102 letters to Haiti for them to get donations to ship a Water Buffalo Rescue Squad unit that we donated to Haiti. And so I would like to know why we're spending city funds, why we're using city employees, how much did it cost, and why we're sending it. We already donated the equipment, and I don't think the city or our employees should be sending letters. Like, it's so much other stuff that's going on in the city that we work for, and I just think we need to focus on that. But I would like to have the information by tomorrow, and I would like the residents to know, because I just believe in being transparent, and I don't think that's what we should be doing.
So the cost, I'm sorry, did you want?
No, you can, that's.
The only cost incurred has been, so my understanding is that the governing body approved surplusing a Water Buffalo and there's a name for it, and it's not a fire truck. It's that and the truck, the squad, it's called a squad. Those items are still sitting on our property. And as part of an initiative that was approved way before this administration, Haiti was one of the sister city entities that this governing body was supporting. Based upon the direction of Ward 2, Councilman Anton, there was a listing of several individual companies and donors that, based upon his direction, city council aides, they drafted a letter, sent the letter requesting support of the initiative because I have not allowed for the city. I think the conversation I had with Councilman Anton, the city could not fund shipping that equipment to Haiti. And so the letters have been drafted for individuals to donate funds in order for us to ship them off of those funds that were donated.
Okay. Oh, thank you for that explanation. So just because I believe in, again, being transparent and being consistent. So when we do that, when we donate things to other individuals, I mean, I understand that it's a sister city, but it's been donated. So how long are we gonna store it? Like, is there anything else? Like, where do we go from here? What if there aren't enough donations to get it shipped? Then what? How much does the shipping cost?
We don't have, I believe the council aide provided a number. I don't remember what the number was, but this governing body could take action and say at X time, that equipment, if the funds have not been remitted, at X time, the governing body could at any time, declare to do something different with the goods that have been surplus.
Thank you. So the tree planting, you mentioned your city manager report brought a lot of things. So the tree planting that was done at Second Street Park, I didn't just want to be in vain, and I appreciate you and your staff, Director Walker, for everything that you're doing in the city. But I am asking for the community to come together to see who they would like for that tree to be in remembrance of. And I would like for Ward 4 to come together and do a little special dedication ceremony and have a sign put up for that individual. So if you know someone, if you're listening, or tell a neighbor, if you have a family member that that did a lot or just was in the community and you would like that tree to be in remembrance of them, please let me know so that we can plan the remembrance ceremony. And then the job fair, March 27th, will be at 696 Main Street. This is the City of Forest Park / Ward 4 job fair. This is the second one. We had one in January. It was so successful, the people wanted another one. And so we'll be doing it on March 27th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 696 Main Street. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a blessed night.
Thank you, Councilman Mears.
Yes, I want to thank all the, everybody for being here, and I also want to thank, especially the, directors and the upper echelon at the fire department, Dave and his bunch, for the information that he gives us, or they give us, or y'all give us on a monthly basis. Makes our job easier to tell our people in our wards what's going on that really don't know how or where to get certain information. So I want to put a shout out to y'all and thank y'all for enlightening us so that we can pass it on to our people in our wards.
You forgot something.
Huh?
You finish.
forgot?
Oh, as usual, my dogs always win in the fight. Uh, would you like to stand up and take a back, Willie? Huh? You want to stand up and say hello to everybody? You the winner all the time. There he is. Let's give him a hand. Thank you, sir. Keep the light burning, buddy.
So I echo the sentiments of my colleagues. I do want to say thank you to all those who have reached out to me for my father's passing, who has given me words of encouragement, those that have forced me to get out the house. For those of you who do not know, I am the ultimate daddy's girl, and my father is my hero, like my best friend. And so his passing, yeah, just your girl is hurt. So, but thank you all so much. It means a lot. I want to put it out there that we are looking for a representative to serve on the Clayton County Board of Health. That information is on the website, correct? No? You could contact our offices if you are interested. There's an application in addition to a resume and or bio that is needed, and we desire to, well, I desire, we need to fill that position to make that selection by the mayor and council by April 1st. So please submit your information if you are interested. And with that, I look forward to seeing you all on April 2nd. April 1st. And so I'm going to ask for a motion to recess and enter into executive session for personnel, litigation, legal matters.
So move.
Councilwoman James, is there a second? Ask Councilman Anton, all in favor? All right, thank you.
It's Hector and
So
Clark.
we're waiting for the army because he's a bad and like that. All right, is there a motion to, what do you do? Adjourn? No. Adjourn the executive session and reconvene into our regular session. That's Councilman Mears. Is there a second? That's Councilwoman James. All in favor? All right, thank you. Now, is there a motion to reconvene? That was Councilman Antoine, with a second by Councilman Gutierrez. All in favor? All right, thank you. Now, is there a motion to approve the settlement offer for Cole? That was Councilwoman James. Is there a second? That was Councilwoman Wells. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Now, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, that, we got a second from first. Yes, okay, goodbye.
Who motioned?
Wells.
Okay.
Mears.
Thank you.